Hello, I am Eric Janson. Let's go over the March 2026 real estate data here in San Francisco. As you know, I'm hashtag tallest man in real estate. So let's get to the overall message that I want to get across for what happened so far this year. So let's get into it. So I'm just going to read this. So we're shrugging off the war. The SF market only gets more heated. The median house sales price in March 2026 hit $2.15 million, and that's up 18% year over year, exceeding the previous peak of $2,050,000 in April of 2022. So April 2022 was the peak of the last cycle, and we're just in the beginning innings of this next cycle. But the median condo sales price was 1.357,500, and that's up 27% year over year, marking that second highest monthly price ever after the peak in April 2022. And and let's go into where luxury looks as well, because the luxury market is absolutely going crazy. We're definitely seeing that K-shaped economy around the world, and definitely in San Francisco in our country. So 22 luxury home sales of 5+ million were reported in March 2026. That's up 83% year over year, and that surpassed 21 sales in June 2021. Um, let's also look at the number of homes listed for sale fell 28% year over year. And so what's happening is the inadequate supply of listings, especially of houses, compared to soaring demand, continues to pressurize the market. And that's definitely what we're seeing right now, is that there's just not a lot of home sales or homes on the market, and so that's driving prices up. And we'll go into the data here in a second. So 85% of homes sold over the list price, with an average sales price of 23% over list price, and that tied the previous month of April 2022 for the highest overbid percentage ever. So 62% of condo sales sold above list price, and on average it was 7% over that list price. Also, the average days on markets to acceptance of offer was 29 days in March 2026, and that's the fastest rate of sale since spring 2022, when price reductions fell 39% from March 2025. So, overall, that's basically what we're seeing, is that really low demand are keeping up the prices. So now let's get into the data here. So what we're going to look at next is the San Francisco value trend since 2005. Let's take a look at this. And I love this because you're looking at a 3-month rolling average. And so what this is looking at is the price per square foot in March 2026 rose about 12% year over year. And the median condo value rose about 10.5%. So you're seeing a big spike in terms of price per square foot. And I really like this chart a lot, because if you look at previous videos, I have ones going back to 1990. And what you'll see in San Francisco is you usually get this 8 to 10 year bull run, and then it drops off a cliff for a year or two, and then you start that bull run again. And we're in the middle of that part of it right now. And I really think that we're looking kind of in that. If you go to the bottom of the chart on the left-hand side, what that's saying is basically January 2012, July 2012 was kind of the bottom there. And then all of a sudden we had this huge increase where, you almost doubled the price per square foot just in a matter of 4 to 5 years. And so I think that's what we're going to see now. We're seeing this huge spike. It's kind of hard to see, but that over to the right-hand side is really where we're getting up in price per square foot. So now let's go into San Francisco house price trends. And what we're looking at is since 2012 by quarter. So let's take a look at this. And what we're seeing here is in Q1 2026, median home sales price jumped 22% year over year to its highest Q1 price ever, and just below its peak quarterly price in Q2 2022. And so we're up almost $2 million here on your average price. And I'll go to the left-hand side where it says median sales price is that price where half the homes sold for more and half the homes sold for less than can be affected by others besides changes in fair market value. It is generally statistics that disguises a wide range of prices in the underlying sales. And so as I mentioned in the previous slide, you're seeing the in the bottom left-hand corner is Q1 2012. You had a huge spike increase to January basically of 2022. So you had a 10-year run there. But particularly from 2012 to 2018, it really spiked up a lot. I think that's where we're going towards right now. We got a lot of money coming from AI and everything as well. So let's look at the next chart. So now what we're going to be looking at is the median house sales price since 2020. And so let's take a look at this. And so where we're at now is in March 2026, the monthly median house sales price was $2,150,000. It hit a new record high and exceeded the previous peak in April 2022 of $2,050,000. So we're at all-time highs now. We're starting that bull run. And the thing I always point out to people is we're not even seeing the IPOs coming yet. Databricks is going to IPO most likely. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Claude is going to IPO. And that's just a few of the biggest ones. And once those people IPO, and usually about 6 months is when they can start cashing out their stock to get home. So, when I look at the forecast of this year of people wanting to beat that IPO wave, as well as what's going to happen next year and the years following, I think we're just going to be an extremely bull run here in San Francisco. So let's go to the next slide here. So next slide is a condo appreciation. So now we're going to shift more to what condos are seeing. And again, what you'll see here is a huge spike that we're going through right now. And what I've been telling people the last few years is, it was a great opportunity to buy. The condos are trading at 2015, 2016 prices. And now we're starting to get up into those, 2021. And pretty soon we're going to be at 2022 prices. But what it says here is the Q1 2026 median condo sales jumped 18% year over year to its highest first quarter price ever. An 18% increase. That's insane. San Francisco is back, and it really shows actually in this chart, because as people move back to San Francisco, and at the very end I'm going to show demographics that San Francisco population is actually increasing. But as people move back for all these AI jobs, they're most likely going to buy a condo and not necessarily a house. So next slide here, and this is what we're going to look at is the San Francisco homes on market. And we're looking at is active and coming soon listings as of the first of the month. And what we're going to see here is we're just not getting to the inventory levels that we need. And so what I love here is if you follow the white line, that actually shows you where we were as of April 1st in the following year. So in 2022, and I'm looking at the very far left-hand side, we had 1,121 homes on coming soon or active listings. The next year was around the same at 1,082. The next year was 1,090. So last year in 2024 was 1,090. We started to spike up in 2025, 1,167. And now this month, or year over year, we're down to 835. So, we're looking, 20, 30% less than what we normally look at. And that's looking over the last 4 years. If I took this back to, before the pandemic, it would be even higher. So what the blurb says here is as of April 1st, 2026, the number of listings was slowly climbing, but declined 28% year over year. Listing inventory will typically continue to rise through fall. And so, and that's what all my buyers are experiencing right now is just that there's just not that many listings out there for the amount of buyer. And we'll get into absorption rates too, which really highlights that. So let's go to the next chart here. So this next chart, and this also explains, which I think there may be a little bit of a slowdown, not much, but a little bit of a slowdown possibly coming. And this is the main reason why, is interest rates. And, interest rates were spiking. About a year ago, they were up about 7%, and that was January 2025. Then all of a sudden in January 2026, they got down to 6%. And that's when we really started to see the mortgage rates increase. Decrease, which brought out a lot more buyers. And then, I remember doing open houses in January and February, just being amazed at how many buyers were out there. Now, with this whole thing with going with the Iran war, interest rates have spiked up about 0.5%. So I do think that will slow down demand a little bit, but overall, we're still going to see multiple offers on most properties. But here's what it says is on April 2nd, 2026, the weekly average 30-year loan was rate rose to 6.46, and that's up from basically 6% before the Iran war began. So the ceasefire announced on 4/7/2026 may exert downward pressure on interest rates. I think that ceasefire is temporary. However, personally, I think all of this is going to get resolved here in the next couple weeks. So yeah, we'll see what happens with interest rates. So let's go to the next slide here. So now we're going to look at San Francisco condo values. And I think this is really interesting. This is what you really want to look at when you're looking at a condo is what neighborhood are you looking in? And most of the neighborhoods that my clients are looking in, I'm telling them, I just did this for a client. It's usually about $1,200 to $1,300 price per square foot. So when you go into a home and you see that it's 1,500 square feet and they got it priced at 1.5 million, well, that's $1,000 price per square foot. You know that that's going to go for probably 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, somewhere in that area. And depending on what area that you're looking at, it could be even higher. So I love this breakdown. I'm going to leave this up here and hopefully you can read it. But the marina, and these are just some neighborhoods. San Francisco has over 70 different neighborhoods, but these are some of the most popular ones. So the marina, you're looking at $1,277 price per square foot. Cow Hollow, which is right next to the marina, $1,268 price per square foot. Presidio Heights, not that far away, $1,246. Pacific Heights, $1,225. Russian Hill, $1,211. I've got a client looking in Eureka Valley right now. It's $1,193 price per square foot. I literally just told him we're probably, especially when he wants an open kitchen and really redone, we're probably looking at $1,250 to $1,300 in those areas. So I love that this gives you the whole breakdown of the price per square foot. That way, when you go into a listing and it's, and I would say probably these are basis on a 2-bedroom. So when you go into a 2-bedroom condo, you've got all the information there of roughly where it's going to go. Now, make sure you're working with a local realtor that works in San Francisco, because as you can see, it's very different from the marina at $1,277 down to like the intermission, which is $858. And that's why you really have to be working with somebody that specializes in San Francisco. It's such a big variance depending on the neighborhood. So let's go to the next chart here. So now we're going to look at median condo sales price since 2020. And what this one is going to show here is in March 2026, the monthly median condo sales price was $1,357,500, and it hit its second highest peak ever. And obviously the previous peak was April 2022 at $1,375. So we're really close to getting that all-time high here on the average of condos. And again, I think this is only going to increase. So, the old adage in real estate is the best time to buy was last year, and that's typically the case in San Francisco. This will keep going. So everyone that's sitting there on the sidelines, I really think next year, the year after that, you're just going to be paying a lot more. So let's go to the next slide now. So now we're looking at luxury home sales. So now let's shift away from kind of the average of condos and houses, and now we're going to shift to the luxury side. So this really tells a lot here. So let me just read what it says. It says sales in 1 month mostly reflect accepted offers in the previous month. The market for luxury homes fluctuates by season, with spring and fall typically the most active markets of the year. And that's typically actually across everywhere in San Francisco. Spring and fall are the busiest times. So $5 million plus house sales in March 2026 hit the highest monthly count ever, slightly exceeding the previous peak in June 2021. And so we're looking at like 25, 26 sales that happened, which is great. And that just shows you all that money that is flowing into San Francisco. So now this slide, now we're going to look at condo luxury sales. That was actually home. So let's go back to the condos. Again, huge spike. So $3 million plus condo sales in March 2026 hit the highest monthly count ever, far exceeding the previous peak in August 2021. And so, now we're basically right under that 25 mark. It looks like about 23, 24 sales of $3 million or more. So, again, that's just showing how hot the market is, that people are here, have a lot of money, and are spending it on houses and condos. So let's go to the next slide here. And this is what I think a lot of buyers are looking at, as well as sellers. But look at what we're going to show is the overbidding list price in San Francisco. And I tell all my buyers, I'm like, list price doesn't mean anything. What you really want to do is know the price per square foot, which I looked at a previous slide. Just know your square footage, price per square foot, multiply it out. That's going to give you a really good range of where things are going to fall. But let's look at overbidding. Overbidding is generally caused by buyer competition for new listings. The overall overbidding percentage in March 2026 was 71% of sales, the highest percentage since spring 2022. For houses alone, it was 85% of sales, and for condos, 62% of sales. And so you can see that now overbidding is back, especially in the condo market. And I think that's what surprised a lot of us was that South of Market for years now has just been underperforming. We saw a lot of price cuts in previous years, and now even those are starting to get snatched up and even get overbidding. Obviously, if you're in like a 2 or 3 unit building, that's more desirable. Those condos are going to get overbidding probably more than like a 50 unit or 100 unit building. But we are starting to see this overbid, as you can see. Really, and that really tells the tale of what's going on right now. So let's go into price reductions on active listings. And this goes in tail with the overbidding. If there's a lot of overbidding, obviously price reductions aren't going to happen as much. So let's get into this chart. So price reduction here. So the number of price reductions typically ebbs and flows by season, but can also be affected by specific events in the economy and the market. They typically peak in October before the midwinter holidays. The number of price reductions in March 2026 declined 39% year over year. I mean, that's just crazy. Like, that really tells you what's going on. We're getting overbidding and we're getting a lot less price reductions. And you can see this trend. I mean, October 2020 was kind of the peak then of price reductions. Then it started lowering in 2022, 2023, 2024, 2020, and then fell off a cliff. And so you can see the trend right now is going down, that we're not seeing a lot of price reductions. So let's go to the next chart. Now what we're going to look at is the average sales price to original list price percentage. And so let's pull this one up. So the average sales price to original list price percentage in March 2026 was 13.5% above the list price, the highest reading in 10 years. For houses alone, the average was 23% over list price, and for condos, 7% over list price. And I noticed that within the last couple months, that what I'd always been telling people on average, and again, you really have to get specific to certain neighborhoods, but I was telling people on condos, you're looking at basically ask to 5% above. And then I just started changing my tune now, where if you see a condo, you can kind of think that you're probably going to get 5 to 10% above ask. Homes, I had been saying, 10 to 20% is kind of the average. Now I'm starting to tell people 15 to 30% is more the average. But again, if you really want to know where things are going to go, just take that price per square foot that I showed on a previous slide in the certain different neighborhoods. And then that's really going to tell you roughly where things are going to go. And obviously, as I mentioned before, make sure you're working with a local lender. A local real estate agent, as well as a local lender. I should get into mortgages at some point too. I used to be a loan officer. But you want somebody local that knows San Francisco and knows the different neighborhoods. And now let's see. I really like this slide, and it also shows what's happening in San Francisco. And that whole thing of everybody's moving out of San Francisco is complete BS. We've been steadily increasing our population, especially with the boom that's happening with AI and tech right now. More people are moving in for these jobs, and you're seeing it. I mean, when you go out now, you're just seeing bars and restaurants are really packed. All the shopping. I mean, go on Chestnut Street, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But look at the San Francisco population trend since 2010. So basically, it peaked in 2020. We had 875,000 people. And then in 2021, it dropped down to 816,000. And it looks like the low was 2022, and that's when interest rates spiked. San Francisco took a long time to get out of COVID, but then now we steadily increased, and we went from 813 in 2022 to in 2025 it looks like 826,000. I'm guessing that at the end of this year, just my prediction that we're going to be above probably I would say 850 or more. So I'm thinking that we're probably going to have at least 25 to 30, maybe 40,000 more people move into San Francisco. And so what that's going to do, just what I was talking about in previous slides, a lot of overbidding, prices going up. Yeah, this isn't even, again, going back to the IPOs that are coming, when you look at all the AI IPOs with OpenAI, Anthropic, Databricks is a huge tech company. They're going to see more and more of this come in. And just other companies like Anthropic is taking off, and Palantir and other places or other companies are really taking off right now. So I expect this to just keep increasing. So once again, I'm Eric Janson. I've been working at Compass now for, 7 years. Before that, I was at Paragon. So I've been a realtor for 9 years now. I was in the loan industry before that. My family history dates back to 1905 in San Francisco. If you need any help, I'd be happy to talk to you and get you in touch. I currently also live in Marin, so I service that area, but San Francisco is my bread and butter. I've got that family history. If you need anything, let me know and reach out. All right, bye-bye.